What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are driving something really special. This is a 2002 BMW 540i Touring, but it has been converted to an M5 from this generation. So what does that entail? The S62 engine out of the N5, which is almost 5-liter V8, making almost 400 horsepower, as we just went over in the previous E39 M5 we just drove. It has, of course, a 6-speed manual transmission, and it has the full bodywork. Now, there are a couple pieces around the car, like interior, that are not quite M5. I think these seats may not be M5. But I think one of the coolest things about this car is it's a driver quality example. It's not perfect. And because it's not perfect, you don't have to worry about driving it. You can actually enjoy it. I'm not sure the entire mod list. A few that I noticed are the exhaust, AFE intakes. It does have BC coilovers, and it does have a very short shifter. Outside of that, I'm not sure some other mods. It probably has a tune. If I get that list, I'll list it in the description down below. But let's go ahead and take the M5 Touring out on the road and see how it drives. This video is brought to you by TC European. If you have a cool BMW pre-2000 in the Colorado area and you need it worked on, TC Euro are your guys. Additionally, if you need some cool aftermarket parts for your older BMWs, check out TC Euro's website in the description down below, and they should have what you need. This thing sounds so good. So we actually just drove an E39 M5 for the first time not too long ago. Oh, hold that thought. Oh, hatch parts rattling around. That's okay. We just drove an E39 M5 not that long ago. That one was also a little bit modified. A little more OEM than this, and that car was awesome. The E39 M5 has always been a bucket list car of mine. Now, BMW has a history of creating low production M5 Tourings of various generations. They did it first with the E34, and now they're doing it with the G90 M5. They did it with the E60, which we also did not get here in the United States. Excitingly, the G90 should be the first one we get in the United States. But what a lot of people have done is they've taken the E39 Touring and they've created M5s out of it, because we did get a 540, which is the M5's baby V8 brother. Plenty of people have swapped in the 6-speed manual transmission of the M5 and the S62 engine, which we all know and love if you're a BMW fan. I have to say, in this package, it feels really good. I mean, it feels like factory. BMW could have built this. Now, this one does have a bunch of aftermarket parts. If you are a long-time viewer of the channel, you know I'm not huge on BC coilovers. They're okay in some applications, but out here they are a bit firm. That said, it drives really well. Gotta love the sound this V8 makes. It sounds so good. I was not told a lot about this specific car as far as how the swap came about, or, you know, that sort of thing. I think I just heard it pop out the back. So why would you want an M5 Touring over the regular M5? Well, first of all, it's cool. I have to say, in the short amount of time I've driven this car, and I did drive it around kind of get up the temp before we started this video, I got so many looks in this car. It's a red Touring, old BMW station wagon, brings a lot of attention. Handles pretty well, though honestly, I can't say the BC coilover is the right fit for this car. It's a little boingy, and it feels a little unsettled over a lot of potholes. I digress. M5 Touring, you basically get the same M5 experience, but now you get to carry all your friends and your stuff. More specifically, your friends with their stuff. The E39 M5 does have a very large trunk, but nothing compares to the hatch size that you get with the E39 Touring. My mom had a 525i E39 Touring a few years ago. She owned it for a year or two maybe, but that was a good car, and never once did we want for space in that thing. Of course, this is the ultimate version of that, being the almighty M5. I do have to say the hatches on E39s, and this one has it too, but it's not specific to this one. They all kind of do this. They do feel a little more loose in the rear. Not from a driving perspective, more so just the trim and all the plastic pieces rattling because there's more back there in the Touring. And unlike the sedan, your trunk isn't separate from you, so you do kind of hear everything. The S62 has gobs of power and torque. Oh, and it sounds beautiful. Let's talk about some driving characteristics of the E39 specifically. Driver's feedback. The brake pedal is okay. I would say it's acceptable. It's better than most econo boxes, but if you're looking for sports car brake pedal, it's not quite there. It does have bite, but you kind of have to get into it, and the initial bite's a little soft. That's just an E39 thing. I mean, this is a mid-sized luxury car. Gas pedal is pretty good for an electronic throttle. It's not quite as direct as any cable throttle, but you wouldn't really expect that out of this thing. I could comment on the suspension and shifter on E39s in general. Not specifically this one, because it's been modified. The shifter on this one specifically feels kind of like a rifle. Like, it's got a really nice engagement in the gear, which is some people's cup of tea. Some people don't like it. I'm indifferent to it. I could take this or a stock shifter. It's, you know, whatever. The stock shifter is a bit rubbery on these, so that's why a lot of people go with something a little shorter, a little notchier. Although I have to say this is really short, really notchy, which has its pros and cons. As far as suspension goes, you feel a lot of what's going on in this one because of those BCs. On most E39s, it's a pretty supple driving experience. Stock especially, but even if you have something like the Dinan springs or Kona yellows or just something like pretty tame, it's still a pretty supple driving experience. The steering on these is recirculating ball, unlike the 6-cylinder E39s, which was to help accommodate the V8 packaging of this car. Some people complain that the 6-cylinder E39s have better steering feel, or they complain about the V8 cars because the 6-cylinders have a better steering feel. Because it's a traditional power steering system, I don't think the recirculating ball really detracts too much from this car. It is a little more numb than the 6-cylinder cars, but not to the detriment of the car. And if you compare it to anything modern, it still offers more feel for sure. What's nice about the E39 is it kind of came from that sweet spot of BMWs, their golden era of kind of maximum performance, minimum weight. Now this one has an aftermarket screen in it, but from the factory it would have had, like, you know, this basically up there for the radio. That V8 sounds glorious as it rings out. Oh my goodness, what a fantastic sound. Throwing a 6th gear here on the highway, it's a pretty low RPM. Kind of about what you would expect. It's very luxury car-esque, and that's what's cool about the M5. It's like a luxury car that's also a sports car. It can kind of do both. They're not amazing on track, but they do okay, better than any normal car would do. But when you're on the street in a normal daily commute and you decide, you know what, I want to have some fun. V8. That's great, love it. It's crazy though, I drove an E39 M5 for the first time in October, and not even 2 months later, I'm driving a custom M5 E39 Touring. Like, pitchy right now. It's kind of crazy. This was bucking this car for years, and I've driven two in like a couple months span. I'm sort of getting more comfortable with these cars, more accustomed to them and like their isms. And I still think that this is it's just a great car. It doesn't do anything specifically really well. It just has a lot of things that a lot of car people like in a car. It doesn't have the most driver's feedback. It doesn't have the most horsepower, but it sounds amazing. It has enough power. I mean, it still has 400. It's not a slouch. It has some driver's feedback. It has a manual transmission. It's just a lot of things that a lot of people like about cars, which make this fun and engaging to drive. Traction control kicked in super hard there. The other one I drove too did the same thing in first gear, although that time I had traction control off and it kind of spun. This time I decided to leave it on, and it probably would have done the same thing. These engines are just so torquey. They just love to go, go, go. It's a lot of fun. We have finished driving the 2002 BMW E39 Touring that's been converted to an M5. And I'd say it's pretty awesome. I mean, the E39 M5 as a whole is an awesome car. It's fantastic to drive. It just kind of does everything right. And having it in the touring package with all the extra space you get out of the hatch is even better. This MLO red is beautiful. So I don't have too much to complain really about this car, other than it's probably pretty expensive to get the swap done. And dollar to car, it might not be the best, but if you want something fun and you're kind of prepared to pay up for it, I do think that converting an E39 Touring to an M5 is kind of the perfect do-it-all car. So with that said, let's go ahead and give the E39 M5 Touring a score.
The E39 M5 Touring scores here on our list. It ties with the M5 sedan. This was not intentional. After modifying a few of the categories, this is where it ended up landing. It's more special and more practical, but the value hit is considerable over an M5 sedan when you price one out in comparison. Should you buy it? We just reviewed an E39 M5 sedan, so I won't rehash all of the same information as I did previously, but here is a summary. The E39 M5 is the perfect do-it-all weekend car. It has the perfect amount of driver's feedback and driver refinement without taking too much away or being overbearing. Now add in the practicality of the station wagon, and you have something that is perfect for using every day if needed. Additionally, the awesome looks and the rarity of the touring body style makes this something truly unique and special. Well done M5 Tourings like this are a perfect example of creating a special version of an existing car that the manufacturer didn't produce.